Okay, today we're going to talk about visiting the souks in Marrakesh. And they're not easy to find your way around in. I rarely get lost, but it took me 2 hours to find my way out my first time in there. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips. Almost all the streets lead off the main square. Walk down the street, look at everything it has, turn around, walk back out to the main square, and then find another street and do the same thing. If you're determined to walk around all over the souks, then I would recommend getting a phone app so it can help you trace your steps back. Every street there is different, pretty much. Either all of them will have brassware for sale, all of them will have carpet for sale, or all of them will have knives for sale. So if you start down a street and it's not interesting to you, just turn around and go back out. The second thing about the souks is visiting the tanneries. And I recommend you go. It's something I've not seen anywhere else in the world, but there are people standing around all over the souks offering to take you there. And if you agree to that, they'll act like they're really being nice to you. But you'll go to the tanneries, you'll get ready to leave, and then they will demand a lot of money to take you back out. And I promise you, you will not find your way back out of those tanneries unless you have someone. So if you really want to visit them, arrange with your hotel to get you a guide, and you'll enjoy it. The last real big thing about the souks is the Juma El Fina Square, and it is huge. It takes 5 minutes to drive across it in a car. Every morning it is one huge empty square. Around 1 o'clock, people start bringing in tents, places to cook, everything. And by 5 o'clock, the square is full. And you can find fast food, you can find anything. I stood on the second floor of a restaurant, had dinner, watched them set it up, and it was amazing. You'll also see a lot of acrobats, people singing for a few dollars, so plan on spending a whole evening there. Once again, if you haven't signed up, please do register. We'll be doing even more videos on Marrakesh as well as all the other cities. Next stop on our trip is taking the bus from Marrakesh to Essaouira or Asuria or Asalia. I really don't know how you pronounce the name of the city, and it seems like everybody in Morocco actually does it a different way. But I found out an interesting thing. Before it became whatever it is now, it was Timbuktu, which is a lot easier to say. The difference in the two destinations is huge. Marrakesh is this red, gritty, dirty area of the souks. Asuria has this beautiful blue and white city Everything is white with blue trim. It's located on the ocean with a sea breeze. It's not as hot. The Medina, or the old city there, is not nearly as large as the souks. It's easier to get around in, you won't get lost, and it's a more modern area. Everything just has a new, fresh vibe. It's not like the old city. Another great thing about Assyria is if you like to surf or kiteboard, it's becoming one of the go-to destinations in the world. The food in Assyria is really based on seafood, sea life. It's a lot lighter, just a different type of food than you will get in Marrakesh or any of the other cities other than Casablanca that has seafood. So if you come here, I think you'll be happy. You can either do a one-day trip and go back to Marrakesh. It'll take about 2 hours to go over, 2 hours to go back, and they give you about 4 hours in the city. But if it were me, I would definitely opt to spend at least a couple of nights there. It's a wonderful place to visit, and I know that you'll be happy. We left Marrakesh again today. This time we're on a 3-day trip to the Great Sahara Desert. There's a few places that we passed, but the first one is called Ait Ben Haddou. It's been popular with filmmakers for years. Films such as Lawrence of Arabia, Gladiator, The Mummy, and The City of Yonkai in the acclaimed HBO series Game of Thrones. It's unique since it's uninhabited except for vendors during the day for the tourists. It's in pristine condition for a town that's 600-700 years old, and the reason filmmakers love it is it can be transformed into any town almost overnight. It's all built out of earth bricks. It's been that way for centuries. Looks like it was built yesterday. There's still workers in the town making more bricks to keep it in condition for the movies. The biggest disappointment for me was that when we got there, all the movie sets were gone. I had envisioned myself walking along in the arena where Gladiator was filmed, seeing the town where Lawrence of Arabia rode in his camel, and while the town is still there, none of the movie props are. Back in the van, heading to the Monkey Fingers, which is where we'll be spending the night. We're high up in the Atlas Mountains. The Atlas is the largest mountain chain in Africa. It covers 2,500 miles. It's summertime now, but there's still snow on them. In the video at the beginning, a lot of times there's a lot of snow. The whole area is covered with different types of small villages. We'll also be visiting the Tadra Gorge, which is a huge rock formation cut by the river here. And of course, the last stop after that will be the Great Sahara Desert. I hope that the trip is going to be worth these 3 days in this van. We finally got to the Sahara Desert. Late in the afternoon on the second day, after 2 full days in a van to get here, we finally got to the desert. It seems like we were kind of led around Morocco for 2 days to take up time, not seeing anything very interesting. The really bad thing is that when we left the desert in the morning, we were back in Marrakesh by 4 p.m. That means we were really just driven around in Morocco to places that were not too interesting, so they could charge more for their tour. We paced to visit the Great Sahara, and we only got to spend a few hours there. We got there late in the afternoon, rode a camel for 15 minutes out into the desert, slept on the ground in a tent, and then came back to Marrakesh early the next morning. Really an anticlimactic end to our little trip. There are a couple of cool things that happened that kind of softened the blow. First, when we were on the camels going out into the desert, which was about a 15-minute ride, we got hit by a huge desert sandstorm. It was like right out of the Mummy movie. I was expecting to see his head appear in the sand, but we weren't that lucky. The second was we had a really nice evening after the storm passed with the Berber guides. They were all around a huge campfire drumming, singing really late into the night, and it was the only thing that was really realistic to me about the trip. I could see these guys doing this whether they were with us or by themselves. Would I do this again? No. I would not waste 3 days of a trip to Morocco in a van just to spend 2 or 3 hours in the desert. Truthfully, the desert is a desert. There's nothing there but sand. There's nothing to do in the desert. There's nothing to see in the desert. So if I were you, I would take those 3 days, visit other cities and places in Morocco. I think it'd be a much better value for your time here.